And so, again, thanks for being here. It's a pleasure to have you join us for NCST's April Community Impact Briefing. My name is Raquel Reddy. I'm the Managing Director of Community Development here at NCST. And I have the pleasure of just introducing a dynamic presenter and partner with us today, Lauren Lowery. We will be focused on talking about the Housing Supply Accelerator campaign that the National League of Cities is doing in partnership with the American Planning Association. But before I have you take the floor, Lauren, I'd like to just take a few minutes to introduce you and provide everyone with a little bit of your background. So let's go ahead and do that. And I apologize if my voice is a little crackly. It's just been that way for a few weeks now. But Lauren Lowery is a Director of Housing and Community Development at the National League of Cities, where she focuses on areas that include affordable housing, housing stability, homelessness, and community development. The research that she does the research Lauren produces acknowledges the intersectionality of housing and also weaves in racial equity, health climate resilience, community engagement, and state interference. Prior to joining the National League of Cities, Lauren worked 7 years in local government, serving the residents of the city of Norfolk and the city of Chattanooga. During her time in Norfolk City Hall, she served as the executive assistant to the mayor and the strategy and policy manager for the Department of Neighborhood Development, where she developed and implemented an award-winning comprehensive neighborhood revitalization strategy. Lauren has a Master of Public Administration from Georgia State University's Andrew Young School of Policy Studies and a Bachelor of Arts from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Lauren, thanks so much for joining us today. It is a pleasure to have you. We are excited to hear more about the campaign, the Housing Supply Accelerator campaign. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and give you the floor to start.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here this afternoon. I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, great. Today, I'm presenting on the Housing Supply Accelerator, a partnership between National League of Cities and the American Planning Association. The Housing Supply Accelerator is a campaign for locally driven housing supply solutions. With this national campaign, our goal is to improve local capacity, identify critical solutions, and refine processes that enable communities and developers to work together to produce, preserve, and provide the diverse range of quality housing that communities need. And we seek to do this by realigning the efforts of public and private sectors, which include local governments, community planners, builders, financial institutions, housing policy association, and state and local partners to meet the need at the local level. And I'm sure you're wondering why we're doing this. There's a growing national conversation that is not just happening in cities that are on the East and West Coast. It's happening through cities throughout this nation at a local level. In addition to the conversation in terms of a shortage of housing or underproduction of housing, it's also growing at a state level as well as a federal level as well. And because the issue of housing supply is growing across this nation, cities are acting. They're either relooking at zoning or they're looking at creating plans to address housing in their community. They're even using state and local fiscal recovery funds to produce additional housing units in their community to meet the moment. And with the Housing Supply Accelerator, that's exactly what we're trying to do, meet the moment while all stakeholders are concentrated on this issue of housing supply. And the focus of this campaign, we have a very narrow focus on the ways to expand, preserve, and improve housing supply. And we plan to really focus on the idea of expanding, preserving, and improving by digging deep into three convening themes around construction, be it the labor component as well as the building of the housing units that are needed. Also, how do we get financing around this to build more housing as well as preserve and improve? And how can we look at land use and local regulatory reforms to help to jumpstart the production of housing? And we plan on implementing this campaign through three phases. Over the last 6 months or so, National League of City and APA, we've been in the planning and partnership phase where we have been working to establish a steering committee. We've also launched a survey in the field of local leaders to get their perception of housing supply and what's going on in their community. And we've also been engaging multiple partners and stakeholders and funding. Now we're heading into the phase of convening and alignments where we're going to have a number of in-person and virtual conversations with the steering committee and partners across the nation to dig deep into those three convening dig deep into those themes / topics. And from those convenings and meetings, we hope to identify shared goal, common ground, and an alignment approach. And then from those convening in that alignment, we hope to deliver and roll out promising practices and policies and get sign on and support. Leading the Housing Supply Accelerator campaign is Angela D. Brooks. She is our campaign and steering committee co-chair. She's the president of the American Planning Association. Mayor Victoria Wooders is our campaign co-chair and president of National League of City and mayor of Tacoma, Washington. And we have Mayor Corey Woods, who is our steering committee co-chair and mayor of Tempe, Arizona. In addition, our steering committee is made up of 20 members, represented from National League of Cities and the American Planning Association. And we have local elected officials, state municipal league representation, as well as community planners who have expertise in finance, architecture, you name it, on our committee. And the goal of the committee is to provide expertise and perspective on the local housing supply challenges and opportunities that community are facing. We know that there is not a one-size-fits-all approach to addressing the housing supply challenges that cities are facing. So having the steering committee perspective and expertise is greatly welcome. Also, elevating at a national level of how local governments are both essential and collaborative partners to addressing the demand for more housing. This is going to take a very much everyone at the table approach to addressing the housing shortages that we see across the nation. Also, our steering committee is there to advocate for equitable solutions that improve capacity, identify critical solutions, and refine processes. And finally, our goal is to develop a national strategy that increases the production, preservation, and improvement of local housing supply in communities across the U.S. In our deliverables, or the steering committee deliverables, are the issuance of recommendations around housing construction, finance, and regulation practices or regulatory practices. Also, the identification of promising practices that we can uplift that are happening at a local level, guidance documents for how cities can begin implementing these tools, in communication and messaging toolkits to talk about the issue of housing supply and the need to address it. In APA and National League of City, we know that we cannot do this alone. While the steering committee and program staff is there to set campaign priorities, provide the local perspective, and engage and convene partners and support the development and distribution of campaign deliverables, we also know that we need partners at the table. So we have our core campaign partners, and we have the National Association Realtors, the National Association of Home Builders, and the Mortgage Bankers Association partnering with us. They will partner in all of our convenings, provide housing sector perspective, provide input on our deliverables, and hopefully support and sign off on the recommendations that will be delivered. We will also have partnerships with housing association and policy partners to participate in select convenings, provide issue-specific perspective, and provide input on our deliverables and support and sign off and distribute our recommendations. And we have a year ahead of us. We recently had our kickoff meeting in March with our steering committee. And very soon we'll have our first convening around construction that will be happening in Chicago. We will also have a convening in July, our convening number 2 on housing finance in Tacoma, Washington. And then we will have our final convening taking place in September in Washington, D.C. around land use and local regulatory reform. And we hope that by November to roll out recommendations that cities can begin to actualize on. And to stay up to date on the housing supply, I do encourage everyone to either visit nlc.org or planning.org to stay up to date on the latest as to what we're doing during our fact-finding journey as we think through how to address challenges as well as to amplify opportunities that we will have. And I'll stop right there to see if we have any questions.
Lauren, thanks so much for that. And it is, and I forgot to mention this, Lauren has been gracious enough to join us today, but she does have a hard stop at 1 o'clock. So we're going to work really hard to get any questions that you have answered. And if we need to follow up, we can. So if you have any questions specifically about your own community, please either raise your hand or let us know in the chat. And we did have one question come in. I also had a question as well, Lauren, but let me take a look. One question that's come in is from Donna Vennes. Hi, Donna. Is this for a particular part of the country or nationwide?
This is nationwide. And we're taking the approach of hosting our convenings throughout the country because we want to have a perspective of what's going on across the country. And I would also say with our steering committee, we ensured that we had a mixture of local elected officials and community planners from big and small cities, so that we're really thinking through the context of addressing housing supply.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And thanks for your question, Donna. One thing I wanted to ask, and I know you mentioned it early on in your presentation, was about the survey. And I don't know can you tell us, is the survey still open? Is there a way to still participate in that survey, or has it already, kind of been closed out?
The survey is not open. The survey took place between mid-January and mid-February. We're in the process of doing quality control with our data, and we hope to release data on what local elected officials or city staff are thinking about as it relates to housing supply. And what we were trying to really see with the data is trying to figure out what are the top hurdles of a housing supply for local governments. In addition to the hurdles, we wanted to see what type of housing local governments were interested or having trouble developing. We also wanted to see at what level do certain government entities come in for intervention, like local government? What should they be responsible for? State government, what should they be responsible for? As well as federal government, what they are. But we're excited to release that data hopefully soon.
Good. Thanks. We've got a couple more questions that have come in. Let me just take a look real quick. So the second question we have is from Kamala Lewis. Hi, Kamala. I didn't see land banks represented on your steering committee or mentioned as a partner. How are you planning to get their input?
We do hope to bring in housing association policy partners. Some of the partners that we have compiled, they do work in land bank. So what is not out there, we are thinking about infusing in our convenings, depending on the topic.
Okay, great. One more. Let's see, there's one more question here.
Oh, the convenings are in person and they are by invitation only. So yeah, in-person invitation only, but the goal of the convenings are to bring in the local perspective, do deep dives on those convening topics that I mentioned, looking at the challenges, looking at the opportunities, but also providing opportunities for some mobile site visits of how different communities have begun to think through solutions with tackling the issue at hand.
Great, thank you for answering that. And, I don't know if you can provide any more color on just the how I know you mentioned construction, then housing finance, and then obviously the local regulatory
Mhm.
reform that may be happening as well. When you look at, sort of the housing finance component, I don't know if you can share anything more about what's sort of percolating to the top. There's lots happening in the
Yeah.
legislation, and so, what comes to mind for me, at least in the work that NCST is doing, has been around the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act, which speaks specifically to that single family tax credit for single family, housing, both on construction, on acquisition rehab, and also on any sort of preservation or repairs for existing owners.
Yeah, we're currently still in development with the agenda for our July housing convening. One of the things that we are doing with our steering committee actually today is really trying to get an idea of topics that should show up at each of our convening and ensuring that we are not missing out on opportunities that we need to address.
Great, thanks. I do have another question,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah,
anybody
yeah.
else has a question,
Yeah.
please put it in the chat or the Q&A. I know you mentioned the convenings are by invitation only. However, are there other ways, either through the websites that you've shared, that folks that are maybe not necessarily at the convenings can share their voices on
Yeah.
the issues, on their local housing issues?
Yeah, I would definitely say reach out to me. I've been having a lot of strategic partnership calls with housing associations or policy think tanks who are interested in engaging. I find those calls very enlightening. It has me thinking through the shaping of the agenda, the potential to share research, the potential to do potential site visits. So that's one way of engaging. Um, uh, that's probably the best way to engage is like
Okay.
reaching out. Also, if you have ideas of particularly on those certain topics, feel free to email me as well. So there is the potential of it, but I will also say that due to capacity constraints, there are limitations on the invite. But depending on the topic, there could be room for opportunity there.
And Lauren, I would thank you for that. I will just say too that, here at NCST, we have a network of community partners, most of which are nonprofit single family housing developers, as well as mission minded
Mhm.
developers, and also including our governmental entities. So for those who do want to share, either opinions or ideas, I would just put out there that if they want to also let us know, then we can kind of aggregate all of that and share it with
Awesome.
you as well.
No, that would be great.
All right, well, let me just see if there is a last call for any questions or comments. I mean, we have representation from all over the country on the call today, so this is very, very important. As you said, housing is different across the country, and how we
Yeah.
look at housing and different challenges that folks are experiencing. And so some of it is global with the the cost of materials and supply, labor supply, those
Yeah.
sorts of issues everybody can relate to. But the one
Yeah.
thing for sure is that you can go anywhere in the US right now, and any city, state, county, and know that there is an affordable housing, an affordable housing shortage, especially on production. I don't
Absolutely.
see, yeah, I don't see any other questions that have come in, Lauren, but I will say you're going to provide us with, a version of the PowerPoint that we can
Yeah.
share with everyone. And that also has your contact information. So we'll make
Yeah.
sure to include that. I think one question just came in. Let me do a quick review. So this is from Tracy Blue, who says, "Thank you. I will be in touch. We are doing a similar process for a BIPOC home ownership initiative in Central Florida."
Yeah. Oh, yes, please do reach out. Interested in hearing more about that and how potential collaboration.
Absolutely, because it what you presented also has that as a central theme, as well as the inclusion, the racial equity inclusion in these
Yeah.
conversations. Well, if there are no other questions, Lauren, thank you so much for being
Thank
here, and
you.
thank you for your presentation. We'll be following up with everyone here.
Great.
Make sure that they get your contact information, and
Yes.
also if they want to share anything else, I can forward that on to you. But folks, stay with us. I've got some policy updates coming up. But thank you, Lauren, for your presentation today. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
And as Lauren leaves our call today, I am also providing some quick policy updates for everyone on the call. We would normally have our Director of Policy, David Hunter, on the call, but he is out right now. So if you would give me just a few more minutes, I'd like to at least let you know what we've been working on here at NCST. So NCST, we continue to manage the Neighborhood Homes Coalition, which of course supports um, the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act, which is what I was just talking about with Lauren. Senators Ben Cardin and Todd Young have reintroduced the Neighborhood Home Senate Bill 657. The legislation establishes, of course, a new federal tax credit to encourage the rehabilitation of deteriorated homes in distressed neighborhoods. States would receive neighborhood homes tax credit authority and administer and allocate credits on a competitive basis. Rehabilitated homes must be owner occupied for investors to receive the credits, and homeowners must be below certain income limitations, as well as specific sales prices that are capped, and then looking at also qualifying neighborhoods that must have an elevated property rate, lower income, or modest home values. There is a coalition website that you can go to. It's the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act.org, and you can get a lot more information there, as well as review the map that we have for Neighborhood Homes Investment Act. I'm trying not to say NIA, it's Neighborhood Homes Investment Act. NCST's president, Chris Tyson, has issued an editorial opinion to The Hill. It was released, I think it was last week, discussing the issue of institutional investors monopolizing affordable housing, and how the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act can assist in countering this trend and increase affordable homeownership. Here at NCST, we have been really trying to understand and develop alternative ways of helping owner occupant home buyers. So there's more that we're working on, hopefully more that we can announce soon, but we understand the opportunity that is there for homeowners that can get access to capital and almost act as a cash investor themselves. Sorry. Our director, NCST's director of policy, who's unfortunately not here with us today, David Hunter, did deliver testimony to the Federal Housing Finance Agency on NCST's priorities for improving the federal home loan banking system. And we have a lot of that information, of course, on our website under our policy briefs. On March 6th, Elizabeth Coates joined the NCS team as the director of homeownership of the Homeownership Alliance. And so I think you'll be able to meet Elizabeth in one of our community impact briefing calls very soon. But she is our executive director of the Homeownership Alliance. It's a practitioner-led coalition made up of nonprofit housing organizations and CDFIs that advocate for more resources and better policies to increase affordable homeownership opportunities for American families. The Homeownership Alliance is actively recruiting new members. If you're interested, please get in touch with myself, and then I can put you in touch with Elizabeth. The Homeownership Alliance did develop a congressional appropriations request to establish the Homeownership Finance Fund. And so there's a new acronym for everyone to remember. That's HOFF, H-O-F-F, stands for Homeownership Finance Fund. We do have a policy paper that it's based on recommending changes to the CDFI fund to incentivize homeownership financing. Members of the Homeownership Alliance shared the Homeownership Finance Fund proposal with their members of Congress, requesting $25 million for this activity. Our Alliance members asked their elected officials to include the HOF proposal in their congressional request to the Financial Services and General Government Subcommittee on Appropriations. And we believe that through this outreach and strategy, the Homeownership Alliance members have engaged legislators in both parties across the House and also the Senate. Last but not least, we've also submitted public comments to the Federal Housing Administration on proposed improvements to the 203K program to promote more flexibility and usability of the program by nonprofits. So a lot of work behind the scenes and obviously upfront to help provide access to more capital for the hard work that we're all doing out there to preserve and provide new affordable housing opportunities across the country. I know we're right at 1 o'clock, but let me just ask if there are any other questions that we have today, and we can certainly feel good about giving you a little bit more time back today because of the shorter call. Any other questions? Anything in the chat? I don't see anything else. Well, thank you all for joining us today. I know it's a little bit more of a shorter call than usual, but we appreciate you joining and we appreciate hearing your voices. So please get in touch with us. Let us know if we can be of any assistance. And obviously, if there are any affordable housing issues happening in your area that we need to know about, please do get in touch. You know, we're here to obviously help you. One more question has come in. Let me just see. Kevin Moody. Hi, Kevin. How are you? Any new projections on housing to become available? So this gets back to the inventory question. And, you know, while we are working on some new partnerships, we are not in a position yet to introduce any of the new programs that we are working on, but hopefully we can announce something soon. We understand that because of the impact, of course, of the foreclosure moratorium and then the loss mitigation strategies that lenders are doing, that we did see that downturn in inventory, you know, since about 2020. We anticipate, and if you all remember Michael Frantantoni from the Mortgage Bankers Association that provided, you know, the economic outlook for this year, really gave us an idea that we might start to see some of that pick up in the last quarter or so of 2023, certainly getting into 2024 with some additional inventory. For those of you who have not been aware of one of the newer programs that we have, we did start a program called the Claims Without Conveyance of Title program in partnership with an auction servicer, Xome, and that's XOME. We have been working with Xome now since August of 2022, and we do see what we call CWCOT inventory across the country. There are a couple more questions that have come in. Tracy Blue. Okay, what is your website address? We are at www.stabilizationtrust.org. I'll put that in the chat for you as well. And Matthew Bello, thanks for your question. Where can we access Chris Tyson's opinion sent to the Hill? Also, I'll provide our website for you here in the chat, which is where you'll be able to find it. And if you have any problems, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will put my email address here as well to help with the sharing of information. Okay. Let's see if I asked. Okay. And Donna, what is the timeline for the bills? Yeah, I don't have the exact answer for that, but I will follow up with Elizabeth and get a response back out to you just so you have a sense of that. And that was for the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act bill. Great. And by the way, Just put that in the chat as well. Let me just make sure I have it. I'm going to send out the email address for NIA, or Neighborhood Homes Investment Act, where you'll find some additional information as well. All right. Well, thank you all so much for your questions. We appreciate your time. We are going to be, of course, back here again in May, the third Wednesday of May. It's the third Wednesday of the month, except for August when we don't have one. But we are excited to have you back with us next month. Look out for some more information about our presenter. We are working on that information to go out very soon. So thanks to all who have joined today. We will provide, obviously a recording of this community impact briefing call for you, and feel free to reach out to myself or anyone else at NCST to help with any additional questions that you may have. We'll go ahead and wrap our call today. So thanks, and I'm happy to give you back some time to finish up your lunch maybe. But thanks for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.